Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an IFBB Pro and Mr. USA 2022. Today's guest is Stuart Sutherland. Stuart, welcome back to the podcast, man.
Good morning. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Dude, super excited to chat with you. I know the last 2-3 weeks has kind of been a whirlwind since we chatted back in July, so I'm excited to kind of catch up with you. Before you and I kind of chat, I just want to let everybody know that's listening or watching this episode with Stuart. This is Stuart's second time on the podcast. If you guys want to kind of go back and listen or watch his first episode on Behind the Muscle podcast, kind of the normal, typical episode where we hear about his upbringing and just kind of get his full bodybuilding story. It's just about a month ago that he was on. So episode 152 is where you can find episode 1 with Stuart. So today, Stuart and I are just going to kind of recap his pro debut at the Tampa Pro, recap NPC USA's where he won the overall title, and just kind of talk shop going into the future. So Stuart, first of all, man, let's talk about USA's. I know it's kind of been a whirlwind the last couple of weeks for you, but how was peak week for you? And why don't you walk us through that leading up to pre-judging on Friday night, if you can, as much as you remember.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago now. But yeah, so rolling into the week, I know that you've had a lot of other guys from the USA's jump on here and talk about the show itself, but running into the week, I think I'd had a refeed the Wednesday previous. So I wasn't like going into the week really flat, like sometimes guys have to do if they have to make a weight class or something like that. So I just kind of kept on my base diet, and over the course of like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my coach Blue had me gradually increase the carbs I was eating and then gradually taper the water down that I was drinking. So I went from like 1.5 gallons to like 1.25 gallons to 3/4 of a gallon, and then I think like half on the last day, and then cut it around 4 p.m. or something. So we did that last year for the Emerald Cup when I did that show, and that worked pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I basically just kept on eating the same foods that I had during the whole prep. A bunch of fish and rice, nothing exciting until right at the end. Started eating some, Rice Krispie treats backstage and stuff. And I do have to load up pretty hard. I remember hearing that Cole Eastvold, he has to load pretty damn hard too. So I'm sure he was eating a bunch of stuff as well. But I mean, I wasn't keeping track necessarily, but I probably had between 1,200, 1,500 grams of carbs between Thursday morning and pre-judging on Friday. And then so pre-judging went really good. I was in the supers, and they actually ran a pretty tight ship. The show went smooth. When we were on at like 11:30 or noon or something. They called us out, did our lineups and stuff. They put me in the middle, and then they didn't move me. They just kind of shuffled a couple people around me, and then I kind of knew at that point that I had the class. The next 36 hours between pre-judging and finals went about as slow as molasses, because it was like, okay, let's get this over with. Like, come on. But yeah, I think I rehydrated a little bit after pre-judging. I think I had like 8 or 9 ounces of water. And then the next day, I actually ended up getting a little bit drier for finals, which was good. I think if I had cut water on Thursday before pre-judging, maybe a couple hours earlier, I might have been able to show up at pre-judging like I looked at finals. So that was a lesson learned that Blue and I kind of took into the next week, which we'll talk about as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with how I looked. I think my physique was pretty complete. I was in good conditioning. I wasn't like inside out like I kind of wanted to be. There's some details and stuff that I need to to work on like maybe I was just doing a bad job of the like flexing your hamstrings and your back double and stuff like that. If you're not doing that, you don't see any of the lines and details in there. So I also just need to improve that body part. But yeah, I'm overall I was pretty happy with the look. I think I probably had the least gaps of the people on stage. I mean, it was really, I think it was pretty tight between me and Brandon Barrow, and you know, it was the best he's ever looked by far. Have you had him on since the show?
He said that he would come on after North Americans.
Okay, yeah, and he's looking better rolling into North Americans for sure. I've been talking with this coach Morgan, and you know, going back and forth, and we like talking shit to each other. It's been a lot of fun, and it has all been fun, by the way. You know, Morgan's just he's funny. I like him a lot. But you know, Morgan's been sending me pictures and updates of him and like, you know, what he's doing and everything. And he's eating more food. He's getting harder. He's not holding on to any water or anything. He's just kind of improving. His weight's getting better. I think it's his weight's actually coming down, eating more, which is a good spot to be in, I guess. So yeah, I know he's very motivated right now, but muscularity wise, we were pretty close, I think. I think you know, conditioning wise, we were pretty close as well. He had some of those details in his hamstrings and stuff that I didn't actually. But I think like overall structure, I just kind of had that over him, and that's just like a genetic thing. But again, by far the best he's looked, and I wanted to give him a lot of credit. The whole supers class was pretty competitive. The top 4 or 5 guys were in really good condition. And not only that, but they were just really fun to hang out with. Like, I don't know, I think you talked to Trey and Justin and Cole and everybody. Like, they were all really friendly guys. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. I didn't know how cagey people would be at these shows, you know, how like, you know, competitive they'd get backstage, but yeah, we were bullshitting and enjoying ourselves. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Now, I want to ask you, what was your weight? Do you know, or approximate weight at pre-judging at the USA's?
I think it was like 246 to 247, somewhere in there. And then I rehydrated a little bit and then stopped drinking again. I might have been half a pound lighter at finals. But yeah, kind of like 246-ish, I guess. I ended up being about the same in Tampa as well. You know, we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah. So I mean, compared to the my show last year, the Emerald Cup, I was like 221, 222. That was about 25 pounds of stage weight in 15 months, which is a good year. It's a very good year. You know, usually people show up that much heavier. They're really out of shape. But I think it was in comparable condition. I wasn't over dieted like I was last year, because last year just kept on just pounding into the ground and seeing if I could get any lighter, get everything off. Um, I think I alluded to this on the last time we spoke, but I mean, this prep overall was a lot smoother compared to last year's. You know, I'd push down for a few days, refeed, push down some more, get a little more fat off, and kind of repeat. I wasn't hungry until like 5 or 6 weeks out, honestly. And then I could pretty reliably expect to get, you know, go eat a bunch of sushi about once a week for the remainder of the prep. And so it went pretty smooth. I think Blue and I have kind of figured out a good formula. Every prep's different, right? But for where my body is at muscularity wise now, and where what my metabolism does, pretty easy to predict. And I think going forward, I did a 17-week prep going to the USA's. I could probably, I think I was probably like in a deficit, like a proper deficit for 14 or 15 weeks of those. I could probably do it in 10, you know, like 6 or 7 weeks out. I looked like I was like 2 or 3 weeks out, or I could have been in shape in 2 or 3 weeks. So I think in the future, when I do another prep, I might start dieting at like 10 weeks out, keep things structured for starting like 14 or 15, right? But yeah, I mean, I can get in shape pretty quick when I need to, now that Blue and I have kind of figured something out. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Now, I want to take a quick step back before we take a step forward here, Stuart. I've got my notes from our first conversation back in July, a few weeks before USA's, and you had said during our conversation at that point that your goal was to just get first call outs at USA's. Okay. Now that that's all done and over with, I want you to keep it real with me. Was that your legit goal, or did you really think that, hey, I can win this and I'm going to win this? Like, where were you at, like, deep in your own mind?
I knew that it was all a question of, like, I knew Trey was going to be in shape. I was like keeping as close of tabs on all these guys as I could, because I get all neurotic at the end. But I knew if Barrow was in shape, which I knew he would be, if Trey was in shape, if Cole was in shape, I knew that I had some tools that they didn't. So all else being equal, like my structure and flow would probably carry me ahead of them. And I also, I don't have a lot of like really big lagging body parts. I've got kind of little stuff that I need to work on that I realize now that I've competed at a pro level. But I was pretty complete. Some of those guys were missing some things here and there. I think out of the whole supers class, I think Barrow was probably the most complete, I'd say. And he was in good condition as well. But like I said earlier, it's just like I ultimately, what I really didn't know was, is Barrow going to be a foot wider than me? Because that's hard to tell when you're just looking at Instagram pictures and you're not in a lineup, right? So that was the big question mark. But I knew if I could measure up width wise with all these guys, then I'd probably be the odds on to win, barring somebody, who just pops up out of nowhere. That almost happened, actually. There's that guy, Jeremy Fontanet, taller black guy. He got second in the supers in 2021 when the show was in Phoenix, actually. And he's got like a great physique. I don't think he was hard enough for this show. And I'm trying to remember what he looked like. He didn't chat much backstage. I didn't get the chance to talk to him much, but we didn't even know that he was doing the show until like a couple days beforehand, I think. So, barring somebody just coming out of nowhere and ruining everyone's day, I think I was like odds on pretty solid in the first call out, if not a win, but proof's in the pudding, right? That's why we have a show.
Yeah. Now, your last competition before USA's this year was the 2021 Emerald Cup. Is that correct?
Yep, back in April.
Okay. Now, I can't remember from our first conversation. Was this your first national show?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Crazy,
I knew that a lot of these guys had more experience than me. I didn't make any big time rookie mistakes here, which was fortunate more than like smarter. I think I just kind of got lucky, and they ran a good show, so I didn't run into any issues there. But I mean, I took my time, and I had a really good off season. I've never. I think we talked about this last time. Like, I don't understand when people are like rushing to get to the stage so they can blow a bunch of money on a tan and registration and look exactly the same as they did last time, a couple weeks ago. I I knew that I wanted to look like a national level guy before I got on a national level stage, because it's kind of sad to watch sometimes. So overall, though, I don't think there was too much of that this year. There was all the classes were pretty competitive. I think they're getting better.
Absolutely. Okay, so prejudging, and then from all the other guys that I've had on post USA's, there was a really long wait from when you guys had prejudging on Friday to when you stepped back on stage on Saturday. And
Yeah.
you kind of alluded to it earlier, said it earlier that it was just a really long wait. But you know, being in the middle during first callouts, knowing that, hey, I'm in the number one spot going into finals. Some guys in the super heavies, I think Cole had brought up, he was hoping maybe that they were going to do like a rejudge or however you kind of word that. But it sounds like in the super heavies, they didn't. So wherever they placed you in prejudging, that's where you finished at the night show, which is, it is what it is. But I guess the question I want to ask Stuart, you know, it's been a whirlwind. I mean, I've seen it on your Instagram, just some things that you've posted, and you even mentioned it before we turned on the mic. It's kind of been a whirlwind the last several weeks. How did you handle going from prejudging, knowing that you're in the number one spot, and then you had that long wait period? How did you handle that going into the night show? Did you stay off your phone? Did you just stay locked in? Did you kind of see what was going on your social media? How did you handle that? How did that kind of unfold?
Oh, social media. Boy, I'm trying to remember. I think something that kind of kept me off of my phone was a lot of my family were there. I had some family and friends come in from, you know, other states and stuff, and they were kind of like coming in and out of my room, and we were shooting the shit and hanging out in there, which was really nice, you know, just to have somebody to talk to and take your mind off of stuff. Same with like when we're hanging out backstage, you know, you can put your headphones on and get all locked in and focused. And you can psych yourself out when you do that sometimes. But like personally, I'm a lot happier and in better spirits when I'm just kind of like, you know, talking to the guys back there about, you know, whatever, not even bodybuilding stuff usually. And I had a good experience with all those guys backstage. But yeah, I was mostly just spending my time with my family and stuff. And I started to get really excited because I kind of knew where I stood as far as the class, but also like I got a little bit better going into finals. And I started to like, as I got a little bit drier, I started to see like lines pop up in my quads that I hadn't seen before. And that was kind of fun. I did a better job of taking like pictures and videos this time compared to last time. I usually suck at it. And to Trey, because Trey kept on making fun of my stupid potato phone. He's like, going to the show, like we're all posting updates, right? The check-in photos or whatever. And I don't have a nice phone. I think it's like $180 phone. Just kind of like it works, does the job. And when people saw me at the show, they were like, "You look a lot better than you do in your pictures." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm cheap." So I just ordered a new phone with a nicer camera, so I won't be. I accidentally fooled some people who thought I was gonna look shittier than I did, but yeah, to Trey, I'm fixing that that phone issue. Because my camera really does suck. So, but yeah, I didn't get I was kind of surprised because it was my first national show. I thought maybe I'd get all revved up and, you know, spooked and stuff. I'm not sure why, but I was just kind of chilled out the whole time. I was like, I mean, you know, all the dieting's done. I just got to shut my brain off and listen to what my coach tells me to do. And that was about it. So
Cool. It's funny that you bring up your phone and some of your sucky pictures, because I can't remember who it was. I've had so many of these. I do so many of these podcasts. I can't remember who I'm talking to sometimes or what were the specifics of who. But somebody said, yeah, like Stuart's pictures, like he looked way better in person than his pictures on Instagram. Which, you know what, like I think that's kind of cool though, because you know everybody's checking things out. Even I think even the guys that say, oh, like I stay off Instagram, I just post my stuff and get off, dude. Everybody's got one eye open on, you know, who their competition is. But somebody actually brought that up and just said, yeah, Stuart, like, dude, he was looking kind of like soft and didn't look really good in his IG pictures. Then he showed up and in person he was like way better. And So it's kind of coincidental that you brought that up. I thought that was kind of cool, so.
Some accidental psychological warfare.
Hey man, I think it works. So whatever it takes, so,
Yeah, sure.
okay. So, we're going into the night show for USA's. You get into the overall, when you got into that overall comparisons, were you pretty confident that you were going to walk away, as the overall champion of the USA's?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that it's safe to take away anything from like Austin or Brandon. I actually want to talk about those two guys in a sec. But like, I mean, I had 20 pounds on Austin. I probably had 40 pounds on Brandon, and I was about the same height as them. So it's a bodybuilding show. That's gonna go a long way. I think Austin's got like he looks bigger than a topped out heavyweight. I'm not even sure if he was topped out in weight. But like he's got some really good muscle bellies and stuff kind of pops off of him. And he looks pretty big for his weight. And then Brandon Laird, who won the light heavyweights, he was in awesome condition. And I mean, something I wanted to note about those two guys, I guess me as well. Brandon, it was 23. You don't see that kind of like hardness and muscle maturity on a 23-year-old hardly ever. And then Austin's 25. I'm also 25. So it was really cool to have like the class winners all basically be kids. And people like to throw around and talk about bodybuilding's dead, and everyone's going to classic, and I sometimes I tend to agree with that sentiment, but then you'll have like some class winners like this, and like, oh, these guys are just getting started, so I think that's really exciting. I think Brandon in particular, if he puts 10 pounds, 12 pounds onto himself on top of the light heavyweight class cap, he's going to be a really good 212 guy. Because he's already hard. He's in good shape. He doesn't have a lot of like missing body parts. He's just got to tack more onto him. He's got good shape and structure and everything. And again, he's only 23, so he can do that in the next few years and start making a splash, which is pretty cool. I think Austin's probably. I think he told me he was going to take like a year and a half or something, because he's going to be an open guy. You got to be up in the 240s to be really competitive there, unless you're like Justin Shire or like Martin Fitzwater. You just like look like crazy illusion and everything. But I was really excited to seeing the younger guys win, and hopefully, I know I got Giovanni. He goes by John Effer on Instagram, if you know who that is. Yeah, so he's doing North Americans. He's 23 or 24. I've followed him for years now, and I'm hoping that he pulls ahead in the supers there. There's going to be a lot of good supers at North Americans too, though. So who knows?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, that was all.
Okay. Yeah, no, North Americans is going to be legit. Nationals in December is going to be legit. I want to touch on Brandon Laird for a minute, because I had him on before USA's, and I mean he was a dark horse. Nobody was talking about him, and then obviously I had him on after he got his pro card. But the thing that really stuck out to me, and I told him this on our conversation on the podcast, is that I mean he's got that structure. When I saw a picture of him on Instagram, I mean he's got that tiny waist. He's got some bicep peaks on him. He's got some quad flare. He's got that structure. And he's just like you and Austin, like head down and just willing to work. And that's what you've got to be able to do to be an elite bodybuilder. You got to put in the work. You've got to love the grind, the process. He's down in Arizona too. Did you know that?
Yeah. I learned that like a couple days before the show, actually. Okay. He's down southeast of me in like Tucson area. I don't think he's in Tucson proper, but he's around Tucson. I think he owns a gym down there. So I got to get my ass down there and visit him sometimes, because I know he's probably got some cool equipment picked out and he'll be fun to play with. But another guy down in the Tucson area is Raphael. He was in the heavyweights. I don't know if you've spoken to him, but he was. I think something went wrong right at the end for him. He was getting coached by Dennis James, and apparently he just got radio silenced at the end. Like he was trying to get in touch with Dennis and just nothing. You didn't hear anything back. So he wasn't too pleased about that. He's had a pretty good complete physique too, though. I thought he looked good, and he was another guy that was fun to talk to backstage. But yeah, he's down in that area as well. So
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. I know Brandon's kind of, hitting the YouTube pretty hard and stuff. So it'd be kind of cool to have you guys, whether it's at your gym or his gym, just get some footage together, just some young guns, kind of like back in the day with Evan Senapani and some of those younger guys that were coming up and
yeah.
muscular development. Used to shoot them. It was always fun stuff. But okay, so why don't you share with us, Stuart? Mr. USA got the overall title. I mean, it really couldn't have gone any better for the USA's for you. First national competition. I mean, I know it's been a whirlwind, but as you've been able to process a little bit, I mean, what are some of the feelings? What are some of the emotions? Have you had some time to really think about being Mr. USA, or not really a whole lot quite yet?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still only been a week since the Tampa, right? So, I mean, the thing is, like, it's a title in a sport that nobody cares about. So you're kind of a medium-sized fish in a very small pond, and I'm trying to keep that perspective in place because this happens every time somebody turns pro. Like, oh, he's gonna go win a pro show or something. Like, I've had people say that, and then like I know the sport that's not going to happen for years if it does. So I'm really focusing on in the last couple of weeks because people have started talking about me and saying my name and stuff a bit, which I'm not used to. I've been really focused on staying in touch with all my friends and my family and everybody who has known me for years before I ever had any success in the sport, and making sure that they don't think of me any differently as a result, and that I don't start changing as a person and becoming arrogant. Because we talked about this last time. The world doesn't need another, self-obsessed, arrogant bodybuilder who thinks he's better than he is. And that was a big reason why I decided to do Tampa, because I did talk to Steve right afterwards, right after I got off stage, and I suggested to him, like, I was thinking about doing this. He was just like, yeah, do it. No hesitation. He was just like, yeah, go for it. And so I went there, and I wanted to see how I stack up against the next level of people in the same way that I wanted to see how I stacked up, going into the USA's. I didn't know how I'd stack up against those guys. Stacked up good, but there's levels, right? So I mean, I landed on the edge of second call up basically in Tampa, 7th out of 14 guys. And it was a pretty good lineup. There were some good competitors in there, particularly the top three. Everybody's probably seen videos of those guys, and just crazy in person. I've never been to a pro show before. I've hardly even seen pro bodybuilders before. Yeah, they're something else. Like, just how thin Kamal's skin is, it's crazy. And Quentin Araya is like literally like 4.5 feet wide. It's insane. But anyways, I knew I wasn't going to measure up against those guys, but maybe a second call out. What body parts am I lacking next to those guys? Do I look like I even belong there? Do I look like an amateur with a bunch of pros? That was the question going into that. And I think I mean, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I think I measured up decent in that second call out there. Like, I didn't look out of place, but there were certain body parts and stuff that I need to work on. Like, Joe Mackey, guy from Texas, his arms are huge. Like, they're insane. And mine, I think my arms are like proportionate to the rest of my physique, but standing next to him, they look like a kid's arms. And he can also deadlift 900 pounds. So like, okay, I've got a pretty thick back, but not like that. I don't. So it was on the whole, I looked like I fit in. I still wasn't missing a bunch of body parts and stuff, and I kind of measured up decent. But like, you can start to pick out little things where, oh, okay, at this level, that's what the standard is, and you need to bring yourself up to that standard now if you want to be competitive and start to get into the first call outs. And so yeah, I know I came away with a lot of data there. And Blue and I, my coach, have been talking about it. We've come up with a plan that we're going to keep on working on and evolving for, to hopefully fix some of these shortcomings going into next year. Because I think I can probably, in the next couple of years, if I'm being really realistic, I think I could probably become a consistent, like, top 6 finisher, depending on the show, of course. If there's a bunch of crazy Olympians in there, then that's not going to happen. But like the top 6 in this show, I was just outside of that. So if I start to bring up some of those lagging body parts, I don't make rookie mistakes like screwing up my tan and glaze and stuff like that, then I think I can probably start to inch up and be consistently in the first call out. But perspective is everything. I didn't want to, just rest on my laurels, right? I think I need to do a better job in general, just in life of giving myself credit for stuff. But at the same time, like, I think people kind of like the humility that I've shown in the last couple of weeks, because I could go out and shout from the hilltops, like, and gas myself up like I'm the next big thing, but I don't believe that I am. I think I can continue to work like I have been and inch my way up to the next level. But I didn't go to Tampa thinking I was Derek Lunsford. I knew that was going to happen. So yeah, I think the focus for me after the USA's has just been, you're still just Stuart. You're still just a guy who lifts weights and eats chicken, and that's, your life ain't going to change that much. But you get to keep on doing what you're doing at a higher level. And I got to meet a lot of my heroes, people that I've known about and followed and had looked up to for many years. And that was really surreal, being able to talk to those guys and see them in person and stuff, which was a lot of fun. But I went back to work this week. I was keeping a desk chair warm again, because that's what I do. That's what I do for most of my day. So, yeah.
Okay. Love the perspective, man. It's refreshing. Now, since you brought up some lagging body parts or some body parts that maybe you need to touch up in terms of being an IFBB pro now, just maybe, from some of the photos and stuff from Tampa Pro, what are some of those body parts that you and Blue are really going to hone in on coming up for this off season?
Well, so I think, are you looking at like the NPC News Online, like individual pictures?
No, just what from your perspective. Not what I think, but what you think.
Yeah. So before we get into the body parts thing, at Tampa, I made some stupid mistakes that I just want to go over really quick. So I was leading into Tampa from the USA's. I was a little bit fuller and a little bit drier, and I just looked a little harder in my check-ins. So I was like, okay, we're in a good spot. And so before Tampa, Friday, we did the similar, taper water down, taper the carbs up, and then cut it the day before the show. What Blue had me do this time, in order to try and hit that finals look at prejudging this time, was cut water a little bit earlier, and I also took a quarter tab of Diazide like a few hours earlier on Friday, compared to the time frame that we did it for USA's prejudging. So everything was looking on track. I woke up at like 4:30 or 5 on Saturday morning, and I was excited. Like, I looked better than I did at the USA's significantly. And it was fuller and drier. I was like getting excited, right? Um, because because we cut water a little bit earlier though, Blue is having me kind of carb up on some dirtier, junkier, sugary kind of stuff. So like more Rice Krispie treats. I think I had like a muffin in my bag just in case, that kind of stuff. And I wasn't usually I carb up on more of just straight rice, like white rice. This time I was eating more junk, and there wasn't enough salt in it. So, and I wasn't adding additional salt to it. So more of the carbs that I was eating were just like there's no sodium with it. And what I ran into right backstage, and this was kind of going through my head at the time, but I didn't do anything about it. I was like, it'll be fine. I didn't have enough salt in me, and I couldn't get a pump. So it really sucked because I was on track to beat that look from the USA's, drier, harder, like all that good stuff, right? And then just stupid rookie mistake, didn't salt my food enough, and it didn't really come together, unfortunately. I also had, so at the USA's, they were putting pro tan on us. And I think my tan looked really good at the USA's, but there was some of it still stuck to me because it was only like a week after the show, right? And they were using liquid sun rays at the Tampa. And I think something got messed up with the two of those things being on my skin because they put like 3 or 4 coats on me at Tampa, and I still had kind of like a blotchy look to me. I had like some blotches in my armpits and stuff. The places where tan tends to stick around after a show. So I think it was because I had the other product on me the week before. And then my glaze wasn't that good. So just like little stuff like that didn't quite, nail it. But, those are rookie mistakes and I won't make them again. And I was fortunately able to remedy some of them for finals. And I actually talked to the judge, the head judge, Bill, and he was like, yeah, we had you in 6th at finals, but 7th at prejudging. So I did improve a little bit. But lesson learned, won't happen again. But to get back to the body parts thing. So I mentioned arms, Mackey's got giant arms. So like, I'm not going to try and put 2-3 inches onto my arms in the next year, but that's something I need to work on. Arms and delts are something that are honestly, they can never be too big in the pro leagues. It's only going to help you, assuming that you've got like the torso thickness and everything else to balance it out, which I think I do. Let's see. So there's that. Adductors. I had a adductor kind of injury strain for the last 8 or 9 months now, actually. And I've had to be real careful with my leg training. So like I'm only doing pendulum squats with my feet straight forward and narrow because that doesn't aggravate my adductor. So I've been training around that and I got a little bit of atrophy as a result. But if I can rehab that properly, get back to squatting like I like to, and then start doing isolation work on my adductors to bring them up, then I think, because like from the front they look okay, but from the back I've just got this gap. There's no meat. There's like hamstring, quad flare, and then there's just like nothing in the middle. It's just empty. So I got to fix that for sure. Because if you look at like Nick Walker or something, he's an extreme example, but he's just got like a ton of meat between his legs there. There's no gap there. So I got to fix that. And then my teres, like the muscle right underneath your armpit there. I've never really put a ton of effort into those with like wide lat pull downs and stuff like that. So it's kind of weak on me and I need to fix that as well. And besides that, I mean, just, keep on getting more condition, keep on developing muscle maturity. It's not like you can really do anything to improve that necessarily in a quicker time frame, but it just kind of takes a while. So yeah, I've got a couple of things I need to fix. If I can put like 3, 4, 5 pounds of tissue on before I get on stage next year in the right spots, then I think I should be able to fill in some gaps and hopefully jump up a few places. But I will be doing a very difficult show next year. Steve told me to do the New York Pro, so there's going to be New York Pro's no joke. I know. Let's see. So you know Nate Spear?
Yep, of course, he's been on the podcast numerous times.
Yeah, I've started chatting with him a lot recently. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so Nate's going to be doing the New York and the Indy Pro, I think, the week before. Justin Shire is going to be doing the New York. Carlos is going to be doing the New York. So like a lot of newer pros are they're going to be jumping into that, and that'll be fun to see how we all line up together. And then I'm sure there'll be some studs, the regulars in the pros that'll eclipse all of us. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that a lot because that's like one of the biggest shows around, and I'll probably hit Indy the week before as well. Plan on doing that as well because I mean, with work and everything, I think it's best if you can pick out like 2 or 3 shows weeks apart. So you can just take that chunk of time off of work for me and then get back to real life once it's all said and done, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get all caught up and stuff. But if I can hit like 2 or 3 shows next year, I don't know if there's something right after New York, but and hopefully make some improvements, then it'll take a while for sure. Getting up to the next level, since I literally just got here, is going to be slow. But I'm excited for it. I have like this long runway ahead of me now of like, man, there's a lot of guys that I could potentially beat, and some of them you'll never beat, but like you have this big challenge now. Like as a fan, you watch the pro league and on any given day these guys can leapfrog each other. So that makes it really exciting for me as a competitor now at that level to, gosh, maybe I could beat so and so or whatever, which would be cool. So yeah, got work to do, but looking forward to it for next year.
So who's now that you're an IFBB Pro, who are a couple of names you can throw out there that you're at some point, whether it's the New York Pro or Indy Pro or in the future, but who are a few of the guys that you are really looking forward to stepping on the same stage with? I know in our last conversation you said you really have looked up to Martin Fitzwater. Maybe is he somebody that you'd love to compete against? Who are some other guys that you'd love to step on a stage with in the IFBB, Stuart?
Well, speaking of Martin, he's probably on stage right now as we speak. He's doing the Texas today. He looks sick, like significantly better than last year. He's all the way in shape this time. He's put on a couple pounds of muscle. I think he was in like the 230s last year, and he's well into the 240s now. So big progress from him, and I'm really excited to see what he looks like. So yeah, Martin for sure, because he's like the same age as me. I've always looked up to him and also always wanted to beat him. I don't know if that's in the cards or not, but he's definitely a level ahead of me. He's like a first call out guy right now. Maybe I'll get there, but Justin Shire as well, because we're both from Oregon and I'm really petty, right? So I want to see who's the best bodybuilder to come out of Oregon, because we've had some good guys come out of the area, the Northwest, over the years. National level guys who are like really competitive and pretty good. A lot of them were coached by Blue Taylor, actually, my coach. But a lot of them haven't like jumped up to the pro level, or I don't know. There's like a pocket of hardcore bodybuilding up there that just hasn't been getting credit like it should. And even though I don't live there anymore, I still have all my, a ton of my friends are there. I still feel like I represent that area and that whole group of people. So yeah, me and Justin, we gotta see who's the king of Oregon and see if I can knock him out. He's made a lot of progress in this offseason, though. He doesn't post a lot of physique updates, but I know he's so meticulous with everything that he does. I know he's bringing up his back. That was a weak point for him before. I know he'll show up in shape because He knows everyone else will be. He was in good shape at nationals. So yeah, those two guys are definitely up there for me. I was kind of surprised. At the Tampa, there were some competitors there that, I've followed for a long time, and like Morgan Ast, that giant French guy. So he's like 6'4" or something, over 300 pounds, skinless, just insane conditioning. And when I was coming in on Thursday to get tanned, I was getting tanned right behind him, and that was a bit of a smack in the face. I was like, oh man, what am I doing here? This guy is like, not human. But I ended up beating him, which is bizarre. But yeah, I mean, he just incredible in person. A lot of those guys are just really, really crazy in person. So, um, yeah, I think those are kind of the two guys on my radar. But honestly, like, there's a lot of pros that can, like Nate Spear. He's improved a lot since his Boston show last year, which was his pro debut, and that was just like a couple of months after he turned pro, right? His quads are like way bigger now. He's made improvements everywhere, and I'm excited to see what he looks like and see how I stack up against him, because he's, I've been talking with him and chatting with him a little bit more recently. I've always been a fan of his. I know he'll be in shape. He always is. But yeah, there's a lot of people where, like, maybe they're not sharing a bunch, but they might have had a really good off season and they show up just looking crazy, and nobody expected them to do anything, but now they're in the first call out. Sometimes that happens, and maybe that'll be me. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll be busy. Got work to do. So
Yeah. Quick question. Ryan Foster, I just saw him post something on IG today that he's moving. Is he moving down to hang out with you or what?
yes, he is.
Is he
I have to
really?
take. Well, so I can't take all the credit for that, because he did the USA's last year. He visited Phoenix when it was there instead of in Vegas, and he loved the place. Like, he really liked it. So I moved down here at the end of March, and we're really good friends. And he's been painting houses for a living. It's a bitch, it's really hard work. So he's going to be coming down here and training people out of Justin Miller's gym. Do you know Justin Miller?
Like Coach Justin Miller?
He does coach people, but so there's like a strong spirit who is
Oh,
that's
okay. That's
his
who
name,
I was
Justin
thinking
Miller.
of.
Yeah, so different guy.
Okay.
He's a local guy in Arizona. He actually did the USA's as well in the heavyweights. But he's really friendly, and he's got a personal training gym down here. So Ryan's going to try and start training people out of there, doing more online client stuff, and trying to get away from the painting. And yeah, we're going to be able to train together down here. I think the fact that I kind of ran away from Oregon may have dragged him down as well. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I gotta go tour some apartments later today. We're gonna try and get into the same apartment complex so we can all just like hang out together and
Yeah.
be meatheads and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to him coming down. I think he's moving in like the middle of September.
Okay.
So he'll be 11 or 12 weeks out from nationals at that point, which is, not so close that it's impossible, but it's still a cross country move that's going to be tough for him. But I know he'll be on top of his stuff, and he looks really good right now. I'm excited to see what he looks like at nationals. Although there's going to be a lot of good guys at nationals. I was just thinking about Chris Fine. I think he's doing that. Who else doing the supers? Can you think of anybody off the top of your head?
No, it's too far away. My mind's more on North Americans right now, but I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah.
North Americans is going to be stacked, like we said earlier. Nationals is going to be stacked. I mean, I really think the top echelon NPC bodybuilding it's very healthy right now in terms of competition. I mean, you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, like it's watered down or it's weak," and I think there's always going to be ebbs and flows in everything in life, right? I mean, I think there's
Mhm.
been some weaker, shows, obviously, pro qualifiers over the last several years, but man, nationals in December was legit. I mean,
Yeah.
USA's was legit. North Americans is going to be legit. Nationals this year is going to be legit. So I think we're in a really good place. And like you said, like 25, 25, 23. I mean, Ryan, how old is he? Like 27, 28?
I think he's 29. I remember him telling me he wanted to turn pro before he turned 30.
Okay.
So yeah, pressure's
Still
on.
young though. Still very young.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time, and he's in good health too, which is important.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of look into that stuff for him, and we're all doing fine, which is good. But yeah, I mean, to that point, like we have good nationals classes, and they're not just competitive with each other. They're like, and I kind of proved this last weekend. Like, I mean, I wasn't going there to win the show or anything, but like I turned pro, and I immediately, got into like a second call out and beat some guys who have been pros for years. So I wasn't just like some spring chicken that was totally out of his depth. I was a little bit out of my depth, but just the right amount. So yeah, it's you look at a guy like Felix Norman, just a tank of a man, huge dude. Or again, Brandon Barrow, muscularity wise, he's like right there. Those are guys that if they turn pro, they could step on a pro stage the next day and not look out of place. So it's really cool to see that in like the super heavies, because those guys are going to be open pros eventually, and they'll probably be in the first, second call outs at pro shows. Um, I'm excited for the guys who are coming up. I think we're doing a better job of. I don't know if I am, but a lot of the guys like Brandon or Austin, they're making YouTube videos and stuff, and they're doing a better job of sharing the process with people, which I should probably get better at that myself. I just always feel weird filming things everywhere. I'm never gonna get over that, but yeah, I'm excited, man. Bodybuilding's looking pretty good right now, so it's
All
up
right.
from here.
We're gonna wrap it up here, man. We're almost going on an hour here, and usually these are supposed to be a little bit shorter, but hey, man, it's fun catching up with you guys. I am so thankful that you guys. I mean, somebody like you, because every once in a while I'll have somebody say, hey, like love to get you on after you win your pro card or what have you, and then they don't even respond to me. That it doesn't happen very often. It does, a little bit here and there, but you guys that are willing to come back on and keep it real with me, man, it's appreciated. But I do want to be respectful of your time. But okay, let's finish it here, Stuart. Whether it was at USA's or after Tampa, who are a couple people that have maybe congratulated you or started following you on Instagram, something like that, where it's like, I can't believe this guy started following me on Instagram, or I can't believe this person congratulated me. Was there any kind of like bodybuilders, coaches, legends within bodybuilding that have touched base with you it's just been kind of surreal?
Yeah, I think the biggest one has got to be Flex Lewis, because after the show, I spent like a couple of days still in Vegas. I had like the photo shoot the next day, and so I spent most of the day at the Dragon's Lair though, at his gym, and like he was just sitting there talking to me, and he was like the most hospitable guy. He was like, "Hey man, you need anything? You need to like cook your food or whatever? You need an energy drink? You feeling tired?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take one of those." But yeah, he was just talking to me like he's like I'm a normal guy, like I'm his buddy, and he was giving me a lot of really good advice, because he's seen people like me come and go. Some of them have been successful, some of them have not. And he knows the pitfalls and like the traps and and all that stuff. So again, it was surreal. Like he was just talking to me like he's my buddy, and then I got to pose with him too, which was really cool. So that was super fun. Another person that I got to meet, which I was really thankful for, was Ed Connors. You know Ed Connors?
Of
So,
course, yeah.
he started the original Gold's Gym with a couple of his business partners. He's actually just released a book, The Three Muscle Tiers or something. And it's kind of the story of, starting Gold's Gym and the whole franchise and everything over the years. Um, So he was actually hanging out at the Dragon's Lair. I didn't realize it was him until he started chatting a little bit. And so, what he would used to do back in the day was any of the new up and coming pros or bodybuilders or wrestlers or whatever, you bring them out to Gold's Gym Venice. They train at the gym, they'd stay at his house, they'd do photo shoots and all that stuff, and they try to get him set up with contracts. And anybody who's anybody in this sport has gone through his house and they've talked to him, right? So I'm sure he goes into this in his book, but talking to him was really valuable because he's seen a ton of promising guys come and go. And again, a lot of them have been successful and a lot of them have ruined their lives in this sport. They've let the success kind of, they have all this potential and maybe they get distracted by drugs or women, or, they can't handle their money or whatever it happens to be. And he had plenty of stories, of people that we've all heard of. Mike Matarazzo, Callum von Moger, he was talking about him recently. One thing that he said that I thought was kind of sad, but also kind of made sense, was a lot of the people that came through his house and, people in the sport, a lot of the successful ones, they're broken in various ways mentally. They've all got something wrong with them. He said he could count on one hand the number of people who had like a strong family in their life who was like supporting them and they could talk to. Personally, I'm really lucky to have an awesome family that's been, supportive of me both in the sport and and all the other stuff that I do in life. So I'm really thankful for that. And it just kind of reminded me, no matter what the trajectory of this sport is for me, up, down, whatever, you need to keep yourself grounded with people who know what they're doing, have seen it before, and who knew you before you were ever anything, in the sport. And again, keep that perspective that I keep on harping on, because it's easy to fall into those pitfalls, and Ed Connors kind of explained to me that he's seen it happen 100 times and be ashamed for it to happen again. So he was another guy that was really, really cool to talk to for that reason.
I love that, man. I think that's a great place to end it, Stuart. Kind of per usual, before I do a quick outro, if you want to give any shout outs, give any final advice, final words, the platform's yours, man. And then I'll do a quick outro and that'll be a wrap. So whatever you got for us to close us out, why don't you make sure you give us your Instagram, and then we'll be done.
All right. So, I mean, it would take me an hour to go through all the people that I met and were helpful and kind to me and supportive these last couple of weekends. It's been really humbling, and I'd forget everybody because I haven't slept much. But yeah, I mean, my impression of all the people that I've met so far has been really great. Everyone's been nice to me, and I'm looking forward to getting to know a lot of these people better. So thank you to everybody who's been helpful and supportive of me. It doesn't go unnoticed, trust me. I don't have anyone else to really shout out besides my coach Blue. None of this would have been possible without him. He's been both a bodybuilding coach and also just a mentor in many ways. I know that he's one of those guys that I'm going to keep close to my side, who's he's seen it all. He's had athletes come and go and succeed and fail, and so he knows what to warn me of in this world. So big shout out to him, I guess. And I don't know, just train hard and don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah, that'll do it for me.
Yep, that's a great way to sign us out, Stuart. What's your Instagram, really quick?
It's beef stew 97, beef _stew _97, and 97 is the year I was born. I've had a couple of people ask me that, you don't look like you're 25. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Um, I take a lot of growth hormone, and that's why I don't look like I'm 25. But
Oh,
yeah, so that's my Instagram handle. I'm not really doing much of anything on there. I don't have any businesses to promote or anything. I just go on there and talk shit mostly, but I'm having fun with it. So
cool, man. All right, Stuart. Thanks again for coming on, dude. I'll look forward to getting you on in the future. Okay.
absolutely, yeah, I'd love to come back on there.
For sure. All of you who are tuning into another episode, another awesome episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. If it wasn't for all of you, the podcast wouldn't exist. Just a couple of quick things here. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are rapidly approaching 1,000 subscribers. Now, I know for some of you, that doesn't sound like a lot, but just a little over a year ago, this channel had like 100 or less. So I appreciate all of you. 1,000 subscribers is a big thing to me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so on YouTube. One other favor to ask of all of you, make sure, if you would please just take this episode, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Stuart, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.